You've seen our titles, but I'm Micky Swindale. I'm CEO of the KPMG Islands Group, of which Malta is a shining light. And this...
Hi, I'm Ivan Filletti, and I run actually the Gaming Malta Foundation, which is, for you who don't know, it's a non-profit foundation set up by the government of Malta to promote Malta as a gaming jurisdiction.
And this has been an interesting day in very, very many ways, but not least some of the interesting views that have been expressed here in the room. But we thought you might have had enough of hearing from other people, which is why we ran the summit surveys that we ran this morning. And for those of you that have been to our summits before here in Malta and in the Isle of Man and Gibraltar will know that we quite often do this to get a sort of temperature check on important topical issues in the room. So what Ivan and I did in the run-up to the summit was came up with 6 questions, three of which have been asked at summits before, so we can give you some comparisons to other jurisdictions and other times, and some of which we're asking for the first time here today. So we will start with one that is specific to Malta.
Okay, so basically the question, as you see, is how challenging is it to attract new talent to the remote gaming sector in Malta? And I think it's also very interesting to know that it's when you look at the somewhat challenging and very challenging, basically it's challenging. I think the outtake to that is, you know, success breeds success, which also brings its own challenges with it. As it was mentioned earlier today, we're actively looking and also have the European Gaming Institute of Malta, which basically hopefully will have more and more people graduate in iGaming, which will help to feed, you know, the talent pipeline also, but also being more efficient also in attracting new talent to Malta and you know, going basically with a very clear message that is, you know, if you want to succeed in gaming, Malta's home of gaming excellence, and we have to do everything, you know, in our remit to ensure that that happens.
And those of you that know me and have heard me speak at summits before will know that when it comes to talent, I tend to be banging the same drum most of the time, which is the diversity drum, particularly the gender diversity drum, because the participation of women, particularly at executive level in the sector, not just this sector, let's be honest, leaves something to be desired. So this next one is a poll that we've run in both the Isle of Man and Gibraltar, and we thought we would run it here in Malta to see what differences, if any, there were. And the question we asked you was that the gaming operator that you either work for or know best, what percentage of the executive team are women? And we go from everything from 0%, which you can see is more or less consistent across the 3 jurisdictions. Gibraltar is in red, the Isle of Man is in the pale green, and Malta is in the blue. And actually, as we go up through the percentages, through less than 5%, 5 to 10, and so on, we are broadly consistent. There's some movement between slight categories, but not too much. The interesting one for me is when we get to more than 30%, because that's the area where research shows if we get greater diversity, if we get more than 1/3 of women on a board, that's the point at which they really start to influence the debate and drive a more diverse agenda and thought in the boardroom and within the executive team. And this is where the significant difference comes, because when we asked this question in Gibraltar, only 3% of the survey respondents said that their executive team had more than 30% women. In the Isle of Man, it was just over double that at 6.5%, but here in Malta, it was more than double the Isle of Man at 14%. So a much more positive picture, I think, for gender diversity here in Malta, and I can't help but think that that's the Scandinavian influence. Ola said in the last section about the need to man up, but I think actually those companies are rather better at womaning up than the rest of us.
Okay, so the other question is, in view of the current challenges facing the remote gaming sector, is sector reputation management program important? And this is something which I would say is close to my heart also. I feel that the industry has never done enough to come up with a coherent reputation management program for the industry itself. Just a bit of an outtake, what we're currently doing in Malta is we're working extremely closely with a trade association called IGAN, the iGaming European Network. So basically we have established a number of key audiences that we want to explain what the industry does, because we mustn't assume that everybody out there knows, you know, what the industry does. So we're actually talking to MEPs, we're also talking to financial practitioners, we're talking to educators, etc., about the industry, and also giving, you know, the behind the scenes work of the nuts and bolts, really, of what happens when you're running an iGaming operation, going through AML, going through compliance, the whole works. There's still, though, a lot of work to be done in that regard, and it's good to see that, yes, and it states, the importance, so it's things which we know already, and, people are actually telling us that also, within the sector itself.
And in light of those current challenges, you'll remember that we asked you a question about what you felt were the most important of them. And you'll see that when we compare these results to asking the same question in Gibraltar back in May of this year, that the responses are extremely similar. And so in both jurisdictions, by quite a long way, increasing compliance was felt to be the most important challenge, closely followed by the public mood about gambling. So no great surprises there, but a real consistency across the jurisdictions.
Innovation. Innovation is key. In your opinion, is the sector pushing the envelope here as it's embracing new technologies? The answer is yes. I think the cliche, and maybe we have to talk about it, the only constant in life is change. And especially in Malta, whereby we're spearheading efforts on blockchain and artificial intelligence, that the industry is really embracing all these, new technologies also to work on new products and also new verticals. Leaking also, as we spoke today, as we heard today also about the esports vertical, which is something which, Malta is actively pushing. We feel it's low-hanging fruit for us, and we're spearheading a strategy and the vision for that. But it's, good news, that the industry is ahead of the loop on, a lot of these things and is taking it up.
And finally, we finished on a very positive note, because when we asked you how positive you felt about the prospects for the online gambling sector over the next 5 years, 84% of you feel positive, leaving a small number who feel neutral and an even smaller number, very small number, who feel negative. I think it was 2 or 3%. So we're certainly not going to be drowning our sorrows over drinks tonight, more raising our glasses. And that brings us to an end of our session here today. And I'll hand over to Ivan, but just say that I would very much look forward to seeing you at our next summit, which will be in Gibraltar. And they would kill me if I didn't point out that Gibraltar summit has in fact had a change of date to the 14th of May. So I promised that I would say that, and will be the 10th birthday of our summit there in Gibraltar. So looking forward to that. But with that, I will hand over to you.
That's it. Even on a more positive note, we're having networking drinks down at the quarter deck. It's also sponsored by Gaming Malta. So hopefully we'll see you all there. Thank you for KPMG for organizing the events. I think it's been a great day, as a lot of thought leadership, a lot of information to digest. So Russell and team, well done. Thank you.